Hello and welcome to Go. I'm Anand Chandy.
And I'm Christina Jung, and you're here at the 89th Annual Williams Lake Stampede.
Coming up on this week's episode,
make sure you finish third.
I met up with Steve Homan, one of Quesnel's most iconic cowboys.
Our father was one of the ones.
Christina got to meet up with the First Nation Stampede Queen, Joan Gentles.
Just kidding. Go ahead.
And someone got a big red nose to match her favorite rodeo clown.
So, Anand, looks like you're showing off some skin today.
If I do say so myself, I think I look pretty damn good in red.
Yeah, I think so too. Very royal-like, royal red.
And at this rate, I think I could run for Stampede Queen as well.
Well, why don't we talk to 1966 Stampede Queen Joan Gentles about that and see if we could get some tips from her.
You know what? I think she'll like my legs a lot.
Uh-huh.
Some ladies approached me and they wanted me to run for this regatta contest where you parade around in a bathing suit and that sort of stuff. And I wasn't strong enough to say no. But all the time I thought about my bowed legs because I had two brothers that, teased me about my bowed legs.
If anyone knows anything about Stampede royalty, cowboys, and the world of rodeo, it's Joan Palmentier Gentles, daughter of Leonard Palmentier.
We knew and were told that our father was one of the ones to start the Williams Lake Stampede. And so it was an exciting time for us. There was a lot of visiting, and we all enjoyed coming to Williams Lake Stampede.
Born and raised in Risky Creek, the world back then was a different place from what we know now.
I grew up at Risky Creek. I was born at Risky Creek. I lived at Risky Creek, and it's still home territory for me. And with a mother that never had a day of school, grandmother that never had a day of school. But I felt discrimination right from the time I went to school, started school. When I was told by a teacher to sit back with the rest of them, and I didn't know she was talking to me until I looked up and her eyes were on me, and then I looked to the back of the room and all the mission kids were back there.
But with a strong First Nations background and determination to excel in school, Joan was soon approached to run for the 1966 Williams Lake Stampede Queen.
The only reason why I ran for the Stampede Queen, well, to begin with, I didn't have a bunch of fancy clothes. I grew up poor, and I was busy going to business school at the time as well in Kamloops. And Hillary and Rita Place came down twice to see me, wanting me to run for the Stampede Queen in Williams Lake. And I said no the first time. And the second time they came, they took me for supper and talked with me again. And so I said I would.
Joan became the first First Nation Stampede Queen in Williams Lake, but that was just the tip of the iceberg. Even after being crowned, the newly appointed queen still faced some challenges.
Well, I felt that I had to be a role model. I felt that I had to behave. I felt that there was going to be a lot of eyes on me. And somebody spoke up, a derogatory statement about Indians in one of the very first dinners I was at. And I was the only First Nation person in there. So I spoke to it right there at that table. I had been recently crowned, and I just wouldn't tolerate it.
Eventually, Joan went on to become the BC Indian Princess as well. But despite all that time in the pageant world, Joan's determination for equality eventually pushed her to a career in the legal system, allowing her to help the First Nations community receive equal opportunity.
I was called by Judge Barnett, and this lady was coming up. And, she was kind of handicapped as well, and I knew her. And he didn't like what was happening for her. I went in the police vehicle with her. And in Lac La Hache, we had to be transferred to the RCMP in 100 Mile. And they didn't know me so well, and they wanted to lock me up with her, but there's no way that I'll walk into a cell and be locked up for nothing. And when the psychologist asked her to draw a picture of her home, she drew a picture of her home. There was a door, there was no windows. They asked her to draw trees. She drew trees that was around her territory. Some trees, there was windfalls, so the top of it was jagged, and the top of the tree was laying down here. I thought for somebody that, you know, they're going from English and I'm going to Chilcotin, I thought she did a good job. When he started interpreting what he saw in that, I felt comfortable to speak to him. That is her home, she drew. It has no windows in the front end. That is her home where the windfall and trees lies on the ground.
For the one Stampede Queen, it's simple, honesty and respect. That's all she fought for and will continue to do.
Many times I have had to watch anthills, and you know, we'd have to sing to the ants. You know, we want to make it, you know, the sun to shine. We'd have stories. You need to go and kick an ant and sing this song. So we'd kick the anthills and sing this song in our language, and then we were asked to be observant of the ants. The ants really help one another. If all of us as human beings in the world were like ants, we wouldn't have the rich, the poor, the discrimination. We wouldn't have that.
Well, rodeo clown is not all about makeup or clowning around. But don't let me tell you. Up next is Willie Crocina, who's been doing this for so long. Actually, he started when he was about 40 years old. Check it out.
The Stampede used to be about the middle of June. But during school, the first day before the Stampede was always a sports day. And all the schools would come in. They'd load us up in a truck and we'd all come in and compete. That was our first really happy memories of this area, of being involved, because the Stampede followed it.
For as long as he can remember, the Williams Lake Stampede was an exciting time of year for retired rodeo announcer, competitor, and clown William Crocina. Now at 91 years old, it was over 60 years ago when this rodeo lover got his first taste of the Williams Lake Stampede.
When I was quite young, my dad used to work at the rodeo here, and of course all the families came because that was the big deal, you see. Like in 1947, I got on my first and last bareback horse in competition. Bareback wasn't really an event in those days. It was just something, they did it as something extra. And you rode with just a loose rope pulled through a ring and you hung on. And when I eventually, well, I did make the ride, but the pickup man had gone for a break. And there was a native with only one eye, was kind of hazy. He came to try and pick me up, and he ran over, knocked the horse down, and I sprained my wrist, and I'm walking back to the chute, and the judge says, "And you missed him out." I said, "That's not all. I just quit riding bareback horses."
But growing up in the Cariboo, nothing about the Stampede surprised him. After all, that wasn't his first rodeo. But even after all those years, Willie knew that competing wasn't his thing.
Somebody wouldn't show up to ride a steer or a cow or whatever it was, and my dad would say, "Oh, Willie will ride it." Well, I didn't get far. I can tell you they were pretty big, and I wasn't very big. I got thrown, and I wasn't a real happy camper.
That's when Willie knew he had to find a different way, because there was just no way he could stay away from all the excitement.
We started putting on these little jackpot rodeos, and there's always dead spots, you know, something happens. So I decided to dress up.
At 40 years of age, Willie Crocina started his rodeo clown and bullfighting career.
I've always been kind of a goof anyway. I mean, I've gone to things dressed as a woman, as a matter of fact. And in those days, it was just, they rode cows. And I've been around stock all my life, so I know what to do, you know, and I can play with them. And then when they got bulls, I still was doing it. And I tried to quit and get somebody else, and some of the cowboys, no, we don't want those young fellows in there. They'll get us killed. You've got to stay with us.
And just like that, Willie and his sidekick Mule became one of the most fun-loving rodeo clowns in the Caribou.
I would bet the cowboys that they couldn't ride him. Well, he's not very big. So when they'd step on, he'd just kick and duck his head, and I'd win every bet.
Today, Willie is still involved with the Stampede and says he'll continue lending a hand some way, somehow.
I do a little bit of everything. I don't do as much now. I do more organizing, but I work with the sponsorship. But I will be, if I'm not a director, and I'd like to see some younger people step up that are interested, but I will certainly be a volunteer as long as I can.
Wow, that was incredible. And you know what Willie told me? He said that some of his years of rodeo clowning were his best years. He said it was just so much fun.
I'm sure that's true, but Christina, I think you've got a little something here.
Where? Did I get it? Good?
Yeah, I think you got it.
Okay, well, as always, the Williams Lake Stampede kicked off with a great parade this year, thanking and giving recognition to all the volunteers in our community.
And you know what, speaking of volunteers, Shaw TV has an amazing volunteer program. If you want to check out any details on how to produce Go or even learn how to produce your own show, you can see some of those details on our Facebook page, Shaw TV North BC.
Right. And you know what? It was all volunteers that put together this parade. So I went to spoke with some of the organizers for the parade to see what it took to put this all together.
Every year, the Williams Lake Stampede kicks off with the most anticipated Stampede Parade. It's really what starts off the 4-day event. But every year, as we watch with excitement, we can't help but wonder, what does it take to pull all this off?
Hundreds of volunteers is what the total amount comes out to. Our membership committee of the parade is made up of 8 people who have met since January monthly, and there's a lot of planning from the safety aspects of the parade itself to looking at the safety of the people who are spectators, the safety of the people who are participants in the parade, to the logistics of how the parade is going to move through town, to road closures and road openings, and how everything just goes with the flow. And on parade day it looks so wonderful, but there's been many stressful hours put in the behind scenes to make sure it looks great on parade day.
Which is why this year's parade theme is a tribute to all those behind the scenes tirelessly working.
This year's theme, it's a wonderful theme. We've taken the 2015 Rotary theme for Rotary International, which is Be a Gift to the World. And we've added our own slant to that. We've said, be a gift to the world, a tribute to volunteers. The reason we put the tribute to volunteers is because I don't think it would be possible at all without volunteers.
In fact, the entire Stampede weekend is organized by various groups of volunteers.
Volunteers mean that you get a lot more work done. If we had to pay people to do the amount of work that gets done, we wouldn't be able to succeed. But volunteers making up the parade means that there's a collective group of ideas that come from a bunch of people that say, let's try this year. Let's have fun doing this year. And that is the whole thing about Rotary and the parade, is let's have fun.
And they sure did. This year's parade had all the familiar floats, but it also had a few surprises as well.
We've got some new ones, we've got some interesting ones. Margette's Meats is putting in their new little SUV that is all decorated up with their name and advertising on it, through to Horsefly Nursery, who volunteers plants and things for special growers. The Springhouse Flying Club is going to be opening the parade with a special flyover, so we can have a parade in the air and a parade on the ground.
With another successful year in their pocket, Ron can only hope the community continues to support and participate for years to come.
They're just smiling and having a great time. To the children that might be 3 or 4 years old, and they're participating and they're waving to whoever and enjoying it. And that's the best part. From 2 years old to 90 years old, participation gets it through.
I was down there last weekend for a barrel race, and that was already like a really big event. So I'm pretty excited to see what it's like when all the events show up.
I like to go down to watch all the events. I have family in it. Steve Holman is my cousin, so I like to watch him go riding and everything else.
I like the time stuff. I like the barrels. I like the wild cowgirl race. But there's some Holman boys in it this year for the wild horse race, so we have to go watch our local boys and see how they do.
The barrel racing, the bull riding, probably. Those are my favorite events to watch.
Well, I've watched lots of rodeos before, and this is going to be my first one, or my first really big one. I'm just really excited to go and, see some of the really awesome riders down there.
Welcome back to Go. I'm here with Coy at the Williams Lake Stampede. So Coy, what do you do at the Stampede? What are you doing here actually?
I'm in the junior steer riding today in this afternoon's performance.
What is junior steer riding?
Well, it's like bull riding, but we get on with 2 hands in the rope instead of 1, and we get on cows instead of bulls. And it's for the younger kids like us.
These bulls don't scare you at all?
No, not really. We've all probably been on thousands of them, so it's just it's just our job, really. It's just like driving a race car or whatever. It's, scary to some people, but it's just what we do, so.
Greg, you do something pretty interesting here. Can you tell people what you're doing here?
My job is to keep the bull riders safe so they can get down the road and keep going. I distract the bull and keep them out of harm's way. And yeah, that's about it.
And have you ever got hurt doing this?
I've been bumped and bruised, nothing too serious, concussions and, a few ankle sprains and blown out knees, but nothing too major yet.
So #1 in Canada, how does that feel?
Pretty good. This time of year, we're in the middle of our season, so making change in a hurry, but it's better than being number 2 or 3, so.
How are you doing so far at the rodeo?
I think I'm sitting like 3rd or 4th in Canada, so all right.
That's more than all right. That's pretty comfy.
Well, I would like to be first. I always want to win, but I'm happy with how I'm doing. So.
Can you tell me what you think about the Williams Lake Stampede so far?
It's really cool. I mean, I love the horse race down the mountain and stuff. There's not very many places that do a lot of cool events like that, so it's neat to come here and see that.
Heck, the atmosphere is good. I always have a good crowd, and there's a lot of prize money up for grabs too. So,
I was born and raised here, just 20 minutes west of Williams Lake, and I haven't been here since I was a steer rider, and it was always kind of my goal to fight the hometown rodeo, and they hired me this year to come, so it's pretty cool.
So what can we expect from you today at today's ride?
I don't know. I guess we'll see here in a little bit, but hopefully I just stay on for the 8 seconds and get a good score and win some money.
Awesome. Now up next, Anna got to speak with Steve Holman, actually one of the greatest cowboys up in Quesnel. Take a look.
Remember, look up to 3rd. Keep looking at 3rd. Go ahead. Look up to 3rd. 3rd. Look at 3rd. Look at 3rd. Okay, now look. Good. Nice run. Nice corner. Keep going. Family is real important to me. My family, and of course, my start out rodeo, and I didn't have them, but and at first, they all used to come along with me, which was great. But now that we keep getting more kids, it's a little harder all the time. But they are very important to me. And, yeah, let's see. We're just looking at first way too soon. You got to look at 3rd more until. Oh yeah, I was saying third, or look at third, and you were. Williams Lake has always been one of my favorites too. That's where I filled my pro card because I had my semi-pro, and just, you know, I always used to hear about Williams Lake Stampede when I was growing up, and you know, being just down the road, it was the big pro rodeo around here, and somewhere I always wanted to ride. And if it falls off, don't worry. But I still don't mind traveling. I like traveling. Maybe that was one reason that I did good at it. I like traveling places and just ride amateur again now. But still, it's a lot of fun and lots of good people around at it. And then I'll be riding in Quesnel here at the Billy Barker days. And all the BCRA rodeos, I ride at them still, most of them, and a few bull ridings and that. I pretty much just stay in BC now. Once in a while go over to Alberta, but I used to go lots over to Alberta and a little bit down into the States, but now just pretty much stay around BC. Faster, keep up to Mom.
I'm standing here with Artie, the art walker. Now, Artie, Stampede weekend, the street party, is a great way to kind of introduce, you know, the upcoming events that's going to happen in the Caribou. Is that right?
It's a wonderful way. Artie does the Stampede parade. I talk to 1,000 kids and I paint most of their toes.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. Now, Artie, tell us about this year's Art Walk. When will it happen and everything that anything new that will happen?
Well, we're going to start on August the 7th and it will run to September the 12th. And we have a $1,000 pool of money this year to help buskers.
Now, Artie, I'm really looking forward to heading to For Sure Bistro during the Art Walk. Can you tell us who's going to be there?
The lady that's going to be there again this year is Marlene Pegg, the lady that painted this year's Stampede poster. It's a beautiful work of art.
Yes, and we actually met up with Marlene herself to talk about kind of her inspiration and what it all took to make this year's winning Stampede poster.
I am a rancher's wife. I have been a horse trainer. I have also experienced being a grill chef, and now I'm living out another passion of being an artist.
Marlene Pegg is a prairie girl who grew up loving the Western life. She loved it so much that she spent the last 30 years training horses. It's this intimate connection to a world most people have only seen in movies that drives Marlene's art. It's what makes it real.
When I look at their faces, when I'm drawing their faces, I see the character, I see the toil, I see a lot of stuff that goes on. Their eyes light up, and it's actually really an interesting story to me. When I was a little girl, I heard about the Williams Lake Stampede, and this is an Alberta girl, and knew that it had such a fame to it. I never had an opportunity until we moved out here to be part of it, and so it was pretty exciting to drive into Williams Lake and see that rodeo grounds. It was just like, whoa, this is the big Williams Lake Stampede grounds.
In 2014, Marlene decided to enter the art walk in Williams Lake. Her art was soon selected by Teresa and Willie Shore to be on display at the For Sure Bistro in Williams Lake.
In displaying my work at the bistro, Teresa would ask me if I would be interested in doing a portrait of Willie, her husband, who is the bullfighter, for their anniversary. And of course I was pretty happy to do so. She brought me a bunch of photos in of him fighting bulls and different captions of different things. It was really nice to go through. When you looked at the whole scene, like I looked at his pictures and I looked at how he had to do had to survey the footing and to be sure, and had to be very quick on his feet, and to be able to set that bull up to look its best and perform its best, because he's an athlete to that bull, and he's got big attitude to make a performance for the people, and to do a super ride for the guy that's up there, or to help the guy that's riding the bull. And if he gets in trouble, that he needed to be there. Combining that all together with that, it was an exciting painting to do. This is the original.
Driven by the passion she saw in Willie Shore, Marlene painted this poster, which not only impressed Teresa, it also won the Williams Lake Stampede poster contest, marrying her legacy to the rodeo.
In the cowboy's life, it's like this. You start off riding the rough string, you end up being the chuck wagon cook, and then now in the later years, you're the storyteller, or not necessarily in words, but in art. So I guess maybe I'm going to go full circle. Who knows?
In Quesnel, I'm Anand Chandy for Shaw TV.
Well, that just about wraps up our episode of Go. Thank you everyone for joining us today.
Wait, we're not done yet.
Okay.
We still have to crown the Stampede Queen, and I thought I had a pretty good chance at that, and I had the best look. What? Wait, hey!